Now, ideally, I would like to pass information between this screen to this screen. So, for example, whatever I type in this text box should be displayed in this label. Okay, so we're going to try this. But for that, we need one thing before. We need this. If you see this view controller, for example, this view controller, okay, and if we go to this little ID card here, okay, the identity inspector, you see that this view controller that's selected is tied to the SD view controller class, okay, and the SD view controller class is over here. You can see the .m and .h files here, right? Now, for this guy though, for the other view, if we select the view controller by clicking on the yellow thing here, you will see that there's no class associated. It says UI view controller, but that's just a placeholder for it. Okay, so what happens is we need to create a view controller that's gonna take over this screen. Okay, I'll do this by going here where it says segdemo, my root directory. It can be anywhere. And then I'll say new file. It will be a new Objective C class. Okay. If I click on user interface, I can create a new view, but let's do it from the ground up. So Coco, another Objective C class. Okay. I'm going to say next. It's going to ask for the name of this. So SD second screen view controller. All right, I'll just call it second view controller. Okay, it's gonna subclass UI view controller. I need to select this. I had it selected earlier, that's why it's defaulting there, but you have to look for this. Okay, and then click next. I'll ask you to save it someplace. You say yes. It's created then an SD second view controller and an SD second view controller.m. And if you can see on the .h, it inherits UI view controller. So now let's go to my storyboard. I have selected the second view controller, and here in the classes, I see that SD second view controller is now in the list, so you can select it. As long as your class ends with view controller at the end, is going to be in this list. If your class inherits from a view controller, but doesn't have the name view controller in the name, you'll have to just type the name in here, but it works. Any class that inherits from view controller could be typed in this field. Okay, but for now, let's say that I associated this view controller in blue to the new class that I created, SD second view controller.m. With that, I can do a couple of things. Because I will need to read the text from here, and I will need to change this labels text, I will need to create outlets for these in the respective view controllers. That's key, in the respective view controllers. So let's look at this guy first. I'm going to open the, the assistant editor, and from this text, I'm going to control drag that into the interface part. Okay, and I'm going to call this my input. My input. Okay, that's the text field. That's the outlet that I'm creating. And then for IAmText, you see that the .m comes up. But if I try to control and drag, nothing's gonna happen, because this is not an interface. Okay, so I can do one of two things. I can say add interface SD second view controller, open parentheses, close parentheses, and then end. And then I could control drag this into there. Okay, that way I have my outlet as private. The other way would be, let me just put the outlet here, it's going to be my label. Now the other way that I could do this would be to, instead of displaying the .m file here, I could display SD second view controller.h, which has an interface, and I could add it. Anyways, I added to here. On top of this, I'm going to add a string property. Property and a string star that's going to be called label text. Okay. Now, the other thing that's that I will do here is I'm going to create a view did load. Remember that all classes, all .envs, so for example, all view controllers here have this view did load method. Okay, I can just copy this one because it has nothing yet and paste it here in the interface part. Okay, so I have a view did load method. Why is it complaining? Oh, sure. This is, oh sorry, this is the interface. What am I thinking? I'm going to click on the .m file, and in the implementation part, I'm just going to put view did load. All right, and in my view did load, after super view did load, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say self.mylabel set text, and the text is going to be self.label text. Okay, so what I'm going to do is in my view did load, as soon as my view is loaded, I'm going to put in the label, I'm going to put the text that I have in this string. Okay, now the key now is for this view controller over here, the first one would be to send the text to the string. So then when the view loads, the text from the string is going to go directly to the label. And you do that with a method that comes in handy there called prepare for seg. Prepare for seg sender. Okay, you start typing it and Xcode is going to help you out, fill it out. So we know that, now remember, I am in sdViewController.m, which is the first window view controller, the one with the text box and the button. Now the seg is going to go from this screen, from this scene, to another screen, okay? And the other screen is controlled by a view controller of kind SD second view controller. So what I will do is this, SD second view controller, oops, is not highlighting it. Therefore I need to import it. Import SD second view controller. Now we're good. SD second view controller star, let's call it next screen, is going to be, and here's the thing, the seg itself has a lot of properties, and among those properties it has the property of which view controller I'm going to with this seg. So I can say seg dot destination view controller. Now the seg destination view controller is of type ID, so I need to cast it to an SD second view controller pointer. Okay? Again, this points to whatever view controller the seg is going to. I need to cast it to the view controller that this seg is actually going to. And I'm going to put it in a variable called next screen. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to say next screen set what was it? Text. What was the property for the string here? It was label text. Okay. Next screen set why am I not seeing this? So then it's the second view controller. Oh, this is not saved. That's probably why. Okay, save it. Save it. All right. So next screen now this string is in my interface within, it's private, right? So I need to make it public. This next string needs to be public, needs to be visible by everyone. So I cannot have it in my .m. I need to have it in my .h file. I'm going to go to my viewcontroller.h. I'll just paste it there. And I'm going to go to my sdViewController.m, my prepare for seg method, and then I'm going to say next screen dot label text equals self dot what did I call my input? My input dot text. So what I've done here, what I've done here is I assign to the next screen the label text string is going to get whatever was inputted in my input dot text. Okay, and then the seg is going to know to go there. All right, and the view controller, everything else seems to be in order. That's good. Let's test it. So I'll type something in my text view. Hello world. I click next. And then the string is carried over. Hello world. So I basically transfer information from one screen to the next. Okay. Now there's one more problem to solve, and it is that I can't go back to the other screen.